Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to tonight's race. I am Bakashinobi, and I am joined by Hupfen. How are you doing this evening, Hupfen?
I'm doing okay. I'm getting sufficiently caffeinated for what I expect will be a pretty dynamic and exciting race between Antidale and Smaepdii, two of our recurring, frequent community members who tend to give us pretty good and exciting runs to watch.
Indeed, this is definitely it's going to be a fun race tonight, as I see we have a radio start, and we can get a peek of our objectives as something that was added between the Football Gauntlet and the Threemus zone. We can see the objectives for the seed, even if they are random for each one. So we have forging the Legend Sword with Cole Smith, waking up Young with a pan, completing the Giant of Babel, and defeating the King of the Town of Monsters. Oh my, this is a set of objectives.
Indeed, it is. Fortunately for our runners, they only have to complete 3 out of the 4. That's one of the rules for this group stage of Highway to the Threemus Zone. Unfortunately, completing 3 out of the 4 still means you're either forging with the adamant or you're doing the giant. And those are two notoriously long and difficult challenges to deal with.
Yeah, imagine something our runners might be tempted to do is that if they find Tella, do a D-Machine grind and then charge through the Giant of Babel, because you're already there and getting tons of experience. What's a bit more? Precisely.
And if they end up with one half of that Legend Sword Adamant combo right out of the gate, well, that's going to maybe nudge you more in that direction. But of course, there's plenty that we need to see as this race gets started, so let's let this race get started.
We have a double child radio start. Let's go Team 60 HP. And we start with the Twin Harp, which don't know how excited our runners are to go to that check because it is long, but I'm excited to see it checked for some lovely remixed music.
Yeah, you might not want to go there quite yet, because as you said, Team 60 HP. Rydia has the lowest starting HP in the game, and that's all you have. You have 2 of her. Fortunately, some of the rules that we have set up for this group stage, there are free characters available. So head to the Watery Pass, head to Mysidia. You can pick up a character at no cost to you. And hopefully it's not Rydia. Hopefully it's someone who actually has HP.
Yeah, and damage, because Rydia, she's a level 1 character, so yes, that does justify why she has a starting agility of 4. But it's still really hard to fight anything with 4 agility. However, Kane starts a bit better off and can use a lot of good equipment. So that is something to be excited for. And Cecil's in the Watery Pass. Cecil is a very risky pickup this tournament because we have turned on vanilla agility. What that means is, if Cecil's in your party, he is your agility anchor. If he isn't in your party, the middle character is the agility anchor. So those 2 Rydias are great anchors if you want to go and have a speedy party, if you keep them at level 1. Mm-hmm. But with Cecil in the party, those Rydias are... I don't know if they're going to be getting any turns until they get a decent number of levels.
Yeah, Cecil becomes a little bit of a gamble. But the treasure here is T-Wildish. It is a little sparse, but it's still T-Wildish. A Crystal Sword could show up wherever it pleases, pretty much. And that makes
Indeed.
Cecil pretty potent.
Crystal Sword is potent, but Smaepdii also found a Stardust Rod in Watery Pass that Antidale did not get, because Antidale chose to forego Cecil, while Smaepdii picked him up, and that Stardust Rod was beyond where Cecil was standing, so that could make a difference.
Yep, that is great Black Mage gear, and this Rosa up on Mount Hobbs is great White Mage. And this Elements fight should not be a huge issue.
There's also an Artemis bow that I missed, so that is definitely going to go and help out this starting party. And this Stardust Rod, it will go and use the Stardust item infinitely, and use it as an item, which is very helpful at the start of the game, considering you're supposed to find this when you're at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's a bit strong. So yeah, there was supposed to be 3 more fiends behind that Mylon, but we're not gonna bother. We're just gonna take that Rosa and mosey along.
Mylon was so starstruck he didn't go and really give his friends a chance to see.
Just hounding Rosa, like, can I get your autograph? Can I get your autograph?
Ready to say, go away! I've got a flashlight and I'm not afraid to use it. Ooh, and a black robe on Mount Hobbs. That is definitely, So a change between, most current patch is that the black robe has actually been fixed to properly increase the black magic casting stat. So black mages actually have another piece of equipment that's viable to use and give them bonus wisdom.
Yes, we are definitely getting the gear to power up one black mage and make her pretty useful. Of course, I already started with 2, so what you do with that other Rydia, we'll figure out later.
I'm sure nap time is perfectly fine. Maybe you go and lose that Cecil. Maybe you go and don't pick up any Cecils whatsoever, and then you anchor with Rydia. We do see Smaepdii is going to the other entrance of Mount Hobbs, and this lets Rydia get a random summon, excluding a couple of the powerful ones.
Yeah, can't be offering anything too good, but we'll take a bit of Free Lightning, a bit of Indra.
Yeah, Indra is definitely not a bad one to get. It's one of her Dwarf Castle summons, so that's equivalent to, say, a Tier 2 spell. It is a bit costly, but if you don't have to do multiple fights in a row, one cast with a Stardust Rod and a Black Shirt is probably all you're going to need. And Antidale has also finished off that Elements fight. Doesn't go and check the rest of House for treasure, so he's not going to find that black shirt that Smaepdii did. But he does have a bit more filled out party, but he does have... I didn't see in the party, he had the option of 2 Yang, so I don't know who stayed in his party and who was told to stay home.
I think one of the Yangs is taking a vacation.
That is a pretty reasonable thing, because Yang really doesn't go and start that strong. And Antidale is not interested in watching a cutscene to get Indra, instead just resetting out. Meanwhile, Smaepdii has found King and Queen Evelyn in the Antlion Cave, which I don't think he's going to be too upset about, because that's a pretty free boss fight, and it's even more free when you have a Stardust Rod to say goodbye to both of them.
Yeah, that's a fight you would like to see later on, because it remains free pretty much wherever it shows up. So getting in the Antlion Cave when you could get something more dangerous and therefore more interesting, not the best thing in the world. Nor is that Silver Apple the best thing in the world.
Yeah, Team 60 HP would, it does almost double the HP of Team 60 HP, but it's still not really that helpful at this point in the game, because, well, a few levels will do that as well.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that you hold on to for really a more unconventional ending character, and by that I mean, an Edward. Someone who ends up in the higher levels with still pretty low HP, but that you have some desire to live.
Yes, Edward has the worst HP growth in the game, so he's really not going to be taking any full-powered Big Bangs. Rydia also is pretty weak on that growth, but she's also not always sticking to that final Threemus fight unless she's slingshotted up to very high levels, which, if that happens, then, well, maybe she goes and just is able to dodge, or she's nuking Zeromus, and she doesn't really have to care about seeing a full-powered Big Bang.
Yeah, just because we started with those Rydias, we have no idea how long they'll be hanging around. We do see Smaepdii is going and grabbing this Yang, and that will fill out his party, at least initially.
Yep, and the last free character we haven't seen in the overworld is the character on Mana Ordeals. I'm sure our runners would be very pleased to see an Edge there for, 1, the easy early game carry, and 2, for the fact that Edge allows you to steal Sirens and other useful tools.
Yep, as Smaepdii goes over to the Mist Cave, hoping to find a Vanilla Mist Dragon. You don't have any boss hunts this seed, or in this group stage, actually. Finding Golbez, which is actually the second best thing you can see, because that means he's not anywhere important.
Golbez is apparently checking out the acoustics of Miss Cave and practicing his singing there.
I don't know how the mist would influence the acoustics, but I'm now curious.
Well, if you want to go and find something, there's a certain ROM hack that Rita's Final Fantasy II in the Final Fantasy IV engine, and Golbez shows up in that game.
Yes, I've heard fascinating things. People do fascinating things with Final Fantasy IV. It turns out, who knew? As we watch our randomizer race.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive game, all things considered, for something that's close to 25 years old at this point. Meanwhile, we see Smaepdii and Antidale converging on Fubul Castle, unless I'm mistaken.
No, Smaepdii went over to Baron and is taking on a fight for a second Rosa. But also, just as importantly, there is a key item behind all of this.
Definitely helpful. This antline can be a little scary, to be entirely honest. The spot is slow, but it hits hard.
Yep. In vanilla, this is the karate fight. This is where you battle Yang. And, he's a monk. He punch.
Yeah, it turns out monks and punching go hand in hand pretty well. Antline, however, is being rather merciful and only punching the monk who is more used to that and is standing up after a hit, so giving time for Rosa and Rydia to dish out some more damage, and the Stardust... Actually, I believe that's the non-Stardust Rod wielding Rydia went down.
Yep. What Smaepdii is doing is not using the attack command, ever. Doing all the other options, and therefore Antline never counters. Still hits hard, but you avoid that entire counter script and reduce how many attacks he does.
Yeah, the magic power here is pretty low, but it doesn't really need to be that high to take out members of this team.
And the HP over in Fubul is apparently pretty low because Antidale just knocks out Rubicant with a few swings and a little bit of ice.
So much for the hot leg. I guess we're all gonna have to cool off, but we find the Magma Key in Baron Inn and a Drain Spear from Fubul Castle. Antidale did not go and make out on this choice.
Now it looks like Smaepdii found the hot deal.
He's got a second Rosa, so he is definitely happy for that one.
Yeah, dropping that Cecil. So back on that center character agility setup.
I don't disagree with this, because Cecil can be very scary to go and anchor with, but it is something that my personal favorite strategy for this is to go and get two Cecils. So you have one Cecil who is, shall we say, permanently napping and equipped with a Dwarf Axe and a Drain Sword or something of the like to just completely tank his agility, and have the other Cecil use something like an Excalibur or Crystal Sword you're mentioning and completely destroy everything in his path.
What you're doing, you're providing the balance of light and dark. You have the light, heavily armed, wholly geared out Cecil, and then the dark napping on the floor one.
Exactly.
That's simply balance.
Yes. This is the perfect way to balance Cecil, because everyone knows his swords very much so are not.
Yes, we balance the one character by having two of them. And it... Go ahead.
Antidale going to Fubul or Evelyn Castle is definitely a play. Would you like to go and talk more about it?
Well, there are a couple trap chests here, 3 to be precise. They hit a little hard, perhaps a little too hard for where you are, but because this is wildish and there are these trap chests, the loot that you do find in here is going to be higher level. So we see Antidale is going and looking for that loot specifically, not interested in doing those fights. Indeed,
and pulling Artemis arrows and Dragoon armor, that's the Dragoon armor will be nice for Kain. The Artemis arrows will be great for Rosa if he has that Artemis bow that Smaepdii has. A Leviathan summon is going to be amazing for both Rydias. Antidale seemed to be hesitating about staying or going. He found after the Leviathan, finding a protector, he's like, no, I'm going. I'm not going. No whammies. Let's just go.
Yeah, take your safe bet and mosey. I didn't expect to say mosey at all, and now I said it twice. So there we go. I'm getting a little bit of Final Fantasy VII into this evening.
Well, that's a can't go and suggest anything's wrong with that. We do also see a Palom. This is not taking Palom. When you have two Ridias who can cast Leviathan, it is hard to say, Quake is a good spell, but I already have two people who can cast Leviathan, and that's a little bit stronger.
Mm-hmm. And as you're getting up to the higher levels and looking at that nuke, well, it's only a few levels difference on one or the other.
Yeah, it does come down to 100,000 experience more for Rydia, which is Rydia has a really mean XP curve. The developers really thought, this is clearly the most powerful character in your party. We should do everything in our power to keep her in line, to make sure she doesn't go and be far and away better than anyone else. Except Cecil, who is just, that.
Yeah, he's the protagonist.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely has the protagonist love, that is for sure. Meanwhile, Smaepdii has used their magma key and is going and looting Dwarf Castle, is going and checking and just looting all of these chests here. I don't believe we found anything incredibly exciting, though that Zeus Rage might be rather nice early on.
Yeah, there are plenty of fights where you like to have that lightning power. Again, grabbing Indra for the Ridias, grabbing that summon. That's extra lightning power, but you don't say no to a J item.
Yep, especially when it's something that you can say have your Yang or Rosa throw when you're not currently dishing out extreme DPS. Speaking, checking the item shot, not finding anything but illusions. Very good item, very expensive, and definitely can see wishing there was something else in there, like say sirens, because that's a good thing to find early on.
Yeah, that's one of the big powers of an edge, is that ability, as you mentioned, to steal sirens and just gather them up no matter where they are in the seed, or even if they're not in a shop.
Yeah, that is something that makes Edge rather special on this flag set, because having a character who can solve the problem of how do I grind for experience is very convenient. That's part of why Tella is also a very, very hot pick on these flags.
And meanwhile, we are seeing Antidale doing the back attack on Mount Ordeals, and it's just the soldiers. Another fairly easy fight that you wish you saw later as opposed to earlier.
And with no Cecil to protect Rydia, Leviathan is stepping up to do the job today. Somehow I think Leviathan managed to go and do the job a little bit more expediently.
I would say so. I would, yeah. A giant crushing wave tends to work.
It is definitely a very useful thing to have at your beck and call. Just needing a power shirt, but turning online Cecil and Tella is pretty helpful. Though, let's see who this Lunar Sparkle is. Pogo is probably not the person you wanted to see, but you're also probably happy to see him here rather than someplace very painful.
Yeah, this is definitely a good exchange for late game in an early spot. This spot does not have much HP, does not hit terribly hard, although big wave is big wave. It's going to do half your HP no matter what.
At least you get the kind mercy of getting healed before and after this fight, so it's not a matter of, oh dear, I didn't go and heal after, say, going to an early spot from Sylph Cave, and now it's Ogopogo. You're at least going to be walking out in good condition, and you can go and use those Leviathans, because you get all of your MP back as well, so why not?
And Smaepdii will now be able to use Sylphs, having obtained that and added that to Rydia's summon collection. So Rydia now has a good chunk of healing capacity as well.
Yeah, those sylphs also, we do have the, I believe we have the sylph glitch enabled. I'll have to double check the flags, but the sylph glitch is, they don't take MP to cast. It's same power as Virus, but it also heals your party. Biggest downside is the fact that it has a kind of long casting animation. And I'm getting confirmation that, yes, the sylph glitch is enabled, so thank you, chat.
Yep, that is one of the handful of vanilla glitches in this game that you had the option of turning on or off based on how you choose to play the game. For this group stage, yes, we have Sylph Glitch enabled. We still have the Warp Glitch, so having Rydia in the party, or at least having someone who knows Warp, is pretty nice when you get to the Dwarf Castle. You can take care of the Sealed Cave functionally for free. And we also have the all-important Life Glitch.
Yes, the life glitch being that when you throw a life potion on a dying enemy, it gets revived and dies instantly, because when you revive an enemy, it's based off the enemy's vitality, and all enemies have 0 vitality. Speaking of a non-zero number, I see Smaepdii is going and looking to see if he can change the number of sirens he has to a non-zero number, as they are for sale in the Feymarch shop.
And sitting on the top of the Feymarch was the Pan. So, coming down to the town of summoned monsters is very valuable this seed, as it will lead you towards 2 of your 4 objectives.
Yeah, and if that Pan gives a Darkness Crystal, that's go mode, because that is both access to Zeromus and access to objective number 3, Complete the Giant of Babil.
Yep, now, of course, we're saying access to all of these things, because the king at the town of monsters, we haven't seen what fight it's going to be, but there's a fair chance that it's quite rude.
You may go and have some minor differences about where the king of some monsters think your face should be. You believe it should be attached to you, of course, and the king of some monsters believes it would make a really fine wall adornment.
But I think we still have 1 or 2 relatively free bosses, so we're saying there's a chance.
Well, at least we know it's not Golbez either, who is incredibly rude. And Smaepdii has finished all the looting he wants to do in the Town of Summoned Monsters and is heading out. He is going rather straight up to that Sheila 1 check, which is rather reasonable, as he's got a Pan. I believe he has not done Fabul Castle yet, so he's seeing this thinking, I can get 3 key item checks out of the way in 1 trip to Fabul Castle. Yes, please, and thank you.
Yep, that is the power of fading Fabul, and why so many runners try to do it.
Indeed. It's, if you only have to go through this cave once and through that Fabul Castle once, that's a non-insubstantial time save. And Pixel Tamer pointing out that Smaepdii did not go and check the bosses, just bailing out here. He does not have a source of exit, so maybe that was something that he was considering of, I can't fight any boss here, so let's just leave. And when I feel more prepared to be able to maybe take on a boss, I can come back. Alternatively, he could be thinking, if this Pan gives me a Darkness Crystal and there's Vitella on the moon, I can just grind up my Zeromus levels, finish the giant, get an objective done, and then come back and clown on the king of some monsters with all that experience.
Yeah, and this also gives him an opportunity to go and retrieve that Cecil. I don't believe dismissed characters are unretrievable. I hadn't thought to look at that.
They are, in fact, actually. That is part of the flag escalation for this tournament is this round, your characters you dismiss are not retrievable, but you get so many you can go and pick a good team. The next round, 3 characters are on, but you can't dismiss anyone. We have perma-join on to the table stage, so it felt rather natural to go and say, You're not going to be able to go and get them back this round. You're not going to be able to get rid of them next round.
Well, in that case, I'm very curious to see how things swap around next round.
We are going to be in for some very exciting times. If you like what you're seeing now, just wait to see the next round. So, of course, our runners have to get there, and to get there, we have to go through the group stages, where anyone who wins all 3 matches in their group will just automatically move on to those table stages. Anyone who goes 2-0 will be moved into one group with other players who go 2-0 and do rounds of Swiss with them, and all the remaining players will go and do their own set of Swiss with the other 1-0 win players. This is because the people who have 2 wins, there's more chances to get into the table stage when their route is called the Magma route, and the players who have only 1 or 0 wins, they don't have the work. They still have a chance, but they do not have amazing chances because there are only very few people who are going to be able to advance from that round. Or from that group, excuse me.
Yeah, if you like charts, check out the way this tournament is set up. We got charts for you. And we got a pan on Antidale's side, having finally headed down to the town of some monsters.
And Smaepdii going and getting his Strain Spear because, you know, we have a cane or an edge who can absolutely make great use of those things.
Yes, but more importantly is the pair of Sheila checks, and whoo, yep. I see what's down there.
I have a strong feeling Smaepdii is not going to regret going and getting rid of his Cecil, as Kanaizo is a fight you really want to go and anchor to be able to deal with that, because that wave does a significant amount of damage at 30,000 HP spots.
It kind of does. That's also a great spot to have all the lightning power you possibly can. But between Kanazo and Odin sitting right next to him, that's 2 of your thunder targets for sure.
And I'm sure Antidale will feel very sad that he did not go and pick up Indra. Antidale's not going to feel very sad he didn't pick up Indra. It is not that great.
Antidale might not even... We might tell Antidale that he didn't pick up Indra, and he'd be like, what? It's that forgettable.
It's like, oh yeah, I remember a reset of that for something, but Antidale now has the choice of going to the Watery Pass and taking that crystal sword and saying, hello, Cecil, get in this party.
And Smaepdii has been looking at that curse ring that was over in the Kaipo armor shop. If you're not hanging around with a Cecil in your party, that is the sort of thing that you're looking out for.
Yeah, they did get bumped up in price. They were 8,000, they're now 25,000 because they're really, really helpful. You might think, how is minus 15 to every single stat helpful? And that is because of how agility works. If you make your middle character really, really slow, you can kind of top out how fast everything is and make your characters as fast as monsters who should be much faster than you.
Yeah, and again, if you like charts, just try figuring out agility in this game. I'm pretty sure there's charts involved.
So to get to relative agility 1, you need to be more than 2.5 times the agility of the anchor character. If your anchor character is 10, that means you need to be 26 agility or higher. If your anchor is 1, that means you need to be 3 agility or higher. And that is all the math I particularly care to do on that front.
I'm pretty sure I'm 3 agility in real life, and I'm not very fast.
Yes, but are you partied with a 1 agility anchor?
I might be rolling solo at the moment. It's early in the story, don't worry about it.
You know, that's entirely fair. Cecil goes through that a fair number of times.
I'll go get some levels after this race.
Just get some sirens, I'm sure that will go and summon a great encounter for you.
I am out of eggs. So
I mean, see? Perfect thing to go and do. And speaking of perfect, Smaepdii is finding that he has the perfect addition to this party in the form of another Yang and an Kane, excuse me. I imagine both of the runners are thinking, I would really like to find an Edge this seed. And
yeah, but
Smaepdii is saying goodbye to the second Rydia.
Yeah, need that physical DPS that Kane provides. Antidale has decided to take Cecil over Kane.
That is interesting because that means he's pretty hard committed to getting those Rydias up to nuke levels. Yes, they have Leviathan, but that is a commitment, I feel, because Kane was not a bad character. Kane had an ice brand, which is not a terrible weapon, not the best, obviously, but you can still do work with that, and you'll probably find an Avenger or a Defense Sword or a Gungnir or a White Spear or a Dragoon Spear or a number of other things that I'm going to list off that would help out Kane. Ooh. Antidale did purchase a number of Sirens and is going to the Peninsula of Power to summon up some eggs to, shall we say, introduce his party to the concept of unlimited power.
Well, if it's not unlimited, it's certainly higher.
I'm curious if he's going to go and level his Cecil, or if he's going to anchor with him for now. And yes, he is throwing a curse string on him. Cecil is part of this party, but he is not part of this damage equation, it seems.
And Smaepdii has gone over to the Dwarf Castle and found our gauntlet.
Hooray for the alt gauntlet, because we're sick and tired of seeing those Kaipo guards who go in the Baron forces that are invading Fabul, so we even decided to go and let any monsters invade anywhere. So the dwarves are now dealing with an infestation of monsters, probably because they didn't go and properly seal off that crystal chamber.
I mean, they'll just let anybody. They let you just waltz right in. They're not. We need to talk to them about security, just basic physical security.
They just let some dolls get in there. I don't know how they really plan to stop anything else. But Smaepdii, despite not having the Leviathan summon, does still have a Stardust Rod, which, when used, does go and seems to take out all the enemies in the group. So it just comes down to getting to Rydia's turn, using the Stardust Rod, and going from there.
Yep, as you mentioned, that is an end-game Black Mage weapon, and Dwarf Castle is mid-game, roughly, which is before end-game, for sure.
You don't have to be doing triple digits, but doing over 500 damage to everything does seem to be more than enough. Angel is going to have to go to the same location. Looks like our runners have the same thought of, let's see what we can get as a 2-for-1 prize here.
Yep, that quick Siren hit, I believe, got Rydia up to having Warp.
Rydia gets Warp very early, so...
Yeah. So they are definitely going to be set for doing that 2-for-1 that you mentioned, hitting that sealed cave prize as well.
Yeah, that is definitely something I can see. I don't think there's going to be well, Smaepdii only has one Rydia, but I think he's going to go and keep his Rydia around no matter what character comes out here. And Angel, he has 2 Rydias, so it's going to be really hard for him to find a way to not be able to warp. If they forget, however, because they see something really exciting, that might be a different story.
Yeah, and hey, the upside of finding the alt gauntlet here, each of these fights is a random encounter for all intents and purposes, and that includes getting the experience on each one. So you can get a sizable amount from just encountering this in a spot that otherwise might not give you as much, or any.
Yeah, that is definitely an advantage to this alt gauntlet. It is, as you said, random encounters. Some spots get really, really rude, like certain spots on the moon.
Oh, the moon.
I wonder if we're going to go and see the moon this seed. I have a feeling if we see it, it's only going to be in the form of walking through it. It's going to be like the Pokemon tour of the moon. If you look on your left, you can see treasure filled with endless bounty and monsters. And if you look on your right, more treasure chests filled with endless bounty or monsters.
Yep, given that we are really only looking for one key item in order to be able to complete the seed, and that's the Darkness Crystal, and that can't be on the moon. The idea of doing anything up there that isn't just going straight to Zeromus, it's a bit unnecessary.
Yeah, and answer your question from chat, is the all gauntlet the same in both the Calbrina and Gulpa slots? I am not 100% certain, to be entirely honest. That is definitely a board question.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I would expect they would be, just because they pull from, the all gauntlet pulls from the local area, essentially. But we are seeing some folks with more expertise in chat saying, no, they are different fights and they end up with different sets, and that's entirely plausible to me as well.
Yep, like Feymarch King Queen spots are different. They also have there's the different floors which have the different encounter tables for Feymarch, so that could be something that draws it. Mm-hmm. That, unfortunately, is something that really only board knows the exact answer of how the monsters and encounters get generated for the Algon. I do believe it is the same encounters from seed to seed, based on location.
Yes.
That is how that gets seeded initially for which slots are which. That's a question for someone else, unfortunately.
As for how to handle the D-Lunars, that's a question a lot of runners can answer. And Smaepdii is providing his answer right now. Shoot it with arrows.
And the D-Lunars are saying, I will go and deal with you with fire. Antidale, getting through the gauntlet, not about the same speed as Smaepdii, but is probably going to be getting through this D-Lunar fight a little bit faster because he has a very, very big friend to summon in the form of Leviathan, as Smaepdii has just finished the fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if, yes, Antidale has also finished the fight. So our runner finishing these checks neck and neck.
Yeah, this more or less ties them up, I believe, because they've done pretty much all the same checks at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Antidale did a bit more early looting with that Evelyn Castle check, while Smaepdii did a fair amount of looting and shop checking in the underground. Mm-hmm. And now they're just going through and checking their spots here. And we're going to see what we get from the sealed cave. The Adamant.
Woohoo!
If this is the Legend Sword, because Antidale is checking the dwarf item first. The Darkness Crystal. Antidale is in go. Both our runners are in go mode. Antidale will find the Adamant, but I get the distinct feeling that this is just going to be grind for experience, get to the town of, defeat the king at this king spot of Land of Summoned Monsters, and defeat the Giant Babel. How to optimize that, I am not certain, because having the levels for grinding for the Giant of Babel will make it much faster for you to go and get through, but having to come back down, get into an airship, and fly around into the Earth does take some time, so I am curious how our runners are going to want to approach this.
Yeah, this is... I feel like we're seeing so far with this tournament overall, how you grind is a huge deal, because we are 37 minutes in and we're in go mode, both of our runners. So the entire race is pretty much going to come down to how do you grind, how do you do it efficiently, and routing the remaining stuff is probably, marginal compared to that.
Yeah, it's going to come down to, do you check the character on the moon? For Antidale, that's a question, because if it's Atella, he can do a big D-Machine grind. If it's another Cecil, he can do some very obscene things with making a relative agility 1 Cecil with a crystal sword on these flags. For Smaepdii, similar questions. If there's a Cecil up there, he can have a crystal sword Cecil in the exchange for going and not being able to do a relative agility 1 setup. And Tella also does a lot because you can go and anchor with Tella and get a D machine grind out. But Smaepdii is choosing to go to... Looks like he's going to go and do Twin Harp.
Yeah, this is rather surprising. I'm sure that white chocobo grab was accidental, but hey, free MP. I can imagine the logic being that if you find the Legend Sword, then hey, you don't have to worry about the giant fights or about Kanazo down in Town of Some Monsters.
Yeah.
Or you're just like, I want to be the man of the people.
That too. Because Antidale is, I am just going to eggs, I am going in scrambling eggs, I am going to deal with these eggs in a very, very painful fashion. As he has a Rosa with an Artemis bow and Artemis arrows, and these are dragging eggs who do not go and experience a lot of dragon style, because they're just getting shot at before they can do anything.
Yeah, a baby dragon, an unhatched dragon, it's still a dragon. It's just a different kind of dragon.
Yeah, it's
I'm pretty sure that's how animal classification works.
I can't disagree with you on that. But I believe we should go and we can get music switcher and Smaepdii and let this music play. And we are getting some nice Sanctuary music from A Link to the Past.
Yep, we've been having a fair splash of Zelda music lately. But it's good music. Can't complain.
I agree. Though I believe Smaepdii can't complain a lot about this Sanctuary fight, this CPU fight, because this is... You can't go and berserk your fighters for this unless you want to go and risk getting Globe 199.
Yeah, fortunately, the attacker just does that 10% damage on each of its attacks, so pretty much this fight is free no matter where it is. It's just a question of how tedious it's going to be.
Yes. It's free in the form of you can probably get through it with most any team. It's not so free in the time of how long it takes to get through it.
As Smaepdii is doing that, Antidale is going for the objective, going for the Kanazo fight.
And did not go and heal in the slightest, so...
I think Antidale did a tactical healing that might not really be working out, because Kanazo punch. But, you know, Cecil being a paladin does try to cover his allies.
True. Though I am curious about how Antidale's going to be able to get through the rest of the fight, as it's just... that punch hurt. That punch really hurt Cecil.
I think Antidale was maybe expecting a little less punch, but punch. Big punch.
Very big punch, because, it turns out, in the vanilla game, in spots that with creatures that only used magic, they kinda never bothered to go and give them a reasonable amount of attack power, so they kind of just like maxing it out, because I imagine they found that incredibly funny. And we see a Berserk going off on Yang. Cecil blocking another punch, but getting into low HP, which is a little dangerous when you need Cecil to be covering the rest of the team. Smaepdii does find the pass at Twin Harp, which would go and save him some time, because when you finish the Giant, you're back on Earth, so that could go and give Smaepdii a bit of an edge. That is a few minutes he got back to not have to walk the moon, and potentially not even go and see the cutscene for the character on the lunar dais.
Yeah, for all the time you're spending here doing the Cave Magnus traversal and doing the fight, that is time you lose. That pass is a lot of time you get back. Lunar Subterrane is really long. Longer than you think it is.
Yes, it is a 2 to 3 minute fight, and Antidale is retreating from this fight now. Just not his expectations are not being met with this fight. He is not able to get through it. He is just deciding to leave and is going to go somewhere else, I think. Yeah, he's going to go back and grind more.
Gotta do that. It's like that Rocky training regimen. Just need more eggs.
You can't start your day without at least 5 egg yolks.
I have never seen the movie, so I don't actually know.
Oh, good. Me neither. And Cecil going first, I believe that went and put his agility at exactly 0 for a minute, so that's another quirk. If you have a 0 agility anchor, it doesn't mean they never go, it means that everyone goes at relative agility 1, regardless of their agility. Oh, and Smaepdii is doing Mount Ordeals now as well. Which... he's looking to go and replace one of the characters. He's replacing one of his roses. As... this is, Callum's definitely... I can get behind this, because a second Black Mage I find more effective than a second White Mage, if you don't need to do a lot of Berserks. But I imagine both the runners are not terribly pleased with the position they're in, just because Antidale is probably not feeling good about taking those wipes to Kanizo, leaving Feymarch and coming back to do more grinding, and Smaepdii, just with the general setup that he has a Crystal Sword, but he no longer has a Cecil. So that is something I can see him being rather concerned about.
Where did we find these sirens? Because I know we found them in a shop, and I'm kind of wondering if Smaepdii never found them or just never purchased them when they were available.
Just 4 from the Land of Summoned Monsters shop. Smaepdii, however, just didn't have a lot of money. Antidale has some money, but he's choosing to summon his big whale. I wonder if he's going to check the character on the moon before he finishes off his grind. Because funding a Siren grind with this team is actually going to be pretty hard. The Sirens cost several thousand gold each, and you need a lot of them to go and just grind up to your levels on just those.
Yeah. This is why we prefer the D Machine grind, and we'll go to great lengths and more charts, in order to pull it off efficiently.
Indeed, something we have the Eat Can't Run flag on. The intention was to make it a little bit more difficult to go and if you're going to go and do a D Machine grind, you're going to be putting a bit of extra time into that. Or, as we clearly underestimated the ingenuity of our community, they will go and find a way to get the correct fight manipulation with fights outside of Baron, and then go into the Giant of Babel, ready to get the next fight as D Machines. This community, I can't go and overstate how impressed I am sometimes with just the degree of tech that comes out of the community researching is impressive. A lot of this is, there have been some unique things seen. Something we didn't see today was the Toad strats on the D-Lunars. We have alternate grinds here where it's not just D Machines, there's also Mac Giant grinds if you don't have Tela. Different locations, you can take those Sirens and go and do some grinds on the moon with either Gold Dragons if you have Hourglasses, Or if you have mute bells, you can go and get almost the same amount of experience by taking out the 3 warlock fights. And this community is it's very impressive. If you are interested in it, please feel free to come by our Discord.
We do see Antidale in the Giant, having done none of the setup that we discussed just now, and is clearly going straight for these boss fights, heading to the element spot.
Well, Antidale knows which blue room that is, and that is definitely a rather free fight right now. Say hello to a free 100,000 experience, I believe.
Yeah, it's quite a bit, and it's quite free. All you have to do is sit there and listen to a motivational speech.
He is, look, Anna really wants to go and have us all believe in Edward. And some of us believe in Edward harder than others. I believe if I see an Edward and I'm facing certain opponents, I am scared.
Well, even if you don't believe in Edward, Edward believes in Edward.
A lot of people believe.
Yeah. And I believe that's a fight done.
That is one Water Hag really hurt by the amount of belief they have in Edward and not the amount of belief they have in Water Hag.
Yeah, nobody ever believes in Water Hag. It's kind of sad.
I believe in Water Hag in the Leviathan spot. I believe it. Leviathan
okay, fair.
Hag is going to go and really do a great job of funneling into pace my team. I believe in Water Hag sometime. This, however, I think Water Hag had the fight stacked against him. And Antidale has some very solid levels, up to level 43 on his Rosas. He's up to level 42 on Verdia, and 45 on Cecil. Cecil's at some very desirable agility for the Threemus fight, and he may actually be at rather poor agility for using a curse string at this point, because I think he's at 28 agility, curse string is only minus 15, so if he's still winning a curse string, he has 20, he has 13, yeah, that curse string is coming off. We're just going to embrace the glory that is Crystal Sword Cecil.
Yeah, once you start getting into the fine edges of higher number agility that still ends up being faster overall, that's really where I start to completely get confused, because it's a complicated thing. But Antidale clearly knows it far better than I, and is quite prepared for it.
Mylon Z is not prepared for what's going to happen to him. That Crystal Sword does 9,999 damage. It's really hard to go get in a situation where that Crystal Sword isn't going to do over, maximum damage to Mylon Z for one specific reason. The Crystal Sword is both Holy Element and strong against Undead. Mylon Z is both weak to the Holy Element and Undead. And in Final Fantasy IV, you can't go and hit double weaknesses in the form of two racials, like you can't have an Elven Bow and Charm Arrows and double hit weakness for Giants. But if you have an Elven Bow and Ice Arrows, you can double hit weaknesses on, say, Element Form Rubicant, and hit his Mage weakness, which is, for some reason, he is Mage Form in the Elements fight and not in the Vanilla fight, and his Ice weakness for times 8 damage. And that's what Cecil's doing here with his Crystal Sword. He's doing times 8 damage with the most powerful weapon in the game.
And that meant the fight got over so quickly that Edward was able to join us. Edward believed in himself and saved us from the Giant. And that's objective 3 down.
All that's left now is that Knizo in Feymarch or finding the Legend Sword, and Smaepdii is betting on not one of those. We're going to see how well that works out for him, because Antidale has finished the Giant and Antidale's at Threemus levels. He's going to be able to go in there with Rosa and Cecil and anyone else who happens to still be alive in his party who he might actually care about. Because when you have a Crystal Sword Cecil, you care about two things. the damage Crystal Sword Cecil does, and keeping Crystal Sword Cecil alive.
It's a simple life, really.
It's really hard to go and disagree with such the overwhelming strategy of let Cecil carry the team.
For once, we move from power overwhelming to strategy overwhelming, even though the strategy is power.
I mean, I like that strategy. It means I don't actually have to go and think too hard.
Yeah.
And yes, to answer a question from chat, you cannot take the whale underground. It will just simply bonk off with the trying to land on the hole underground. It'll look like it'll fit, but really the whale just it doesn't go and believe in going through those level of tight fits. It beeps a lot.
It's the big whale. It's big. How big? Bigger than that hole to the underground, apparently. That's all we need to know.
Indeed.
And speaking of big, can Antidale handle these big punches?
He's going to go and probably be taking some big waves as well. He has one Thor Rage left, and he might have gotten that queued up just in time. I think Kanizo might not be at the same agility as if he was at relative agility 1, but this is going to be probably a bit unpleasant. This is a very fast spot, and it has no small amount of HP. It has a decent amount of HP. He did go and get the wave cancel off the first time, so now doesn't have anyone available to get this wave cancel off, so he's going to hit that. But he might be able to survive it just on virtue of, one, having a party filled with HP, and two, having a very powerful Cecil swinging for lots of damage, because that wave is based off of Kanizo's current HP rather than total HP. So the more damage you do, the less it hurts, though it still hurts a lot.
Yeah, that knocked down Iridia.
Poor Iridia never stood a chance on that wave, I think.
Meanwhile, Smaepdii has been handling this evil wall gradually, but is handling it, is still standing.
Yeah, he is getting through the fight. It is definitely something that, if this has a legend sword for him, this will definitely be a big payout, because this Kanizo fight is, it's going to be rude, it's going to be harsh, and the ways to get through it are never terribly pleasant.
Yeah, the problem is, even if this does give you the legend sword, like right now, you still have to gather a few more levels, if only to handle the giant. Instead, it's the hook, so it doesn't even grant you that.
Yeah. Did Antidale not save after? Oh my goodness.
Oof.
Okay, so Antidale only didn't save after fighting Mylon Z, so this is not the worst time loss, but still a significant time loss.
Yeah, it's more the cutscene time and just the fact of doing the fight. It's not like this was a difficult one, but yeah,
that's definitely. Yeah, this stings.
Yeah, this buys Smaepdii some extra time.
Smaepdii's going to go and be having a bit of trouble as to where to spend it. Just that Kanizo fight is really mean. That Kanizo is probably one of the hardest and most technical fights to deal with in a high agility and high HP spot. With Cecil on your team, it does get very difficult to go and bring your speed down low enough to use anchor strats and cancel all the waves. Antidale maybe wants to go shopping and try and pick up some additional supplies to make things easier for himself. Some extra Thor Rages might make it easier for him to just keep canceling those waves and keep people healed up. But Smaepdii can go and... Smaepdii is going to have an easier time reducing his agility down to getting his anchor slow enough to make his party relative agility 1, which can be immense for that fight. It is... I know I just said this, but it is one of the hardest and most technical fights in this randomizer, where some spots you really just can't go and overpower it. You have to be able to go and do some clever shenanigans. Antidale can technically overpower it by form of just keep her Rosa alive to cast Cure 4, let Cecil Berserk, and just go, just throw damage at it and heal through any damage thrown at you. He does have the HP to try that now, but it's going to be probably tricky to pull off. Meantime, we do see Smaepdii is doing some shopping. He did find Bacchus wines in Evelyn Cave. That is something that's pretty helpful. He is going and doing a character check, which neither of our runners have checked the character on the moon. Antidale most certainly does not want that character at this point, as Angela has ground up all the way they need. They have no need for any other characters, because Sosoya is not in these flags, and he is the only one you would consider taking with an endgame party.
Yeah, we're even well past the edge point. It's the other strongest character to join in, but level 25 is kind of low at this juncture when you're rolling high 40s.
And Smaepdii found the other troll of the seed. Mm-hmm. I guess he noticed it when he was on the top of tower that I missed. Mist Dragon is sitting, blocking the way to the Falcon.
Yep, so that very well could be the Legend Sword for all we know.
Yeah.
Is it worth chasing? Perhaps. I feel like that's been Smaepdii's strategy, is to chase spots.
Yeah, the Legend Sword is... The Legend Sword can be anywhere because it doesn't get access to anything. It's literally just a thing you can find, and that's a key item.
Yeah.
So it could be here, it could be on Threemus, it could be on the moon, it could be behind a tower key on the moon. Where it is that is going to be a hard thing to find. And the more time Smaepdii spends looking for it, the more he has to commit to finding it, as Antidale is making the other game look at his ability to get through Kanizo and get his crystal that way, because this is a rude fight.
Yeah.
It's free in the sense that you don't have to find a key item, but you have to be able to get through it, which is proving that it's not easy.
And having Rydia there do the Ice 3, do the damage, if Kanazo doesn't have the water around him, he is weaker to ice, so that would do even more straight damage, but either way, that's a strong spell, and reducing his HP just reduces the damage of that wave.
Yep. Wave is 4% of Kanazo's current health, so the more damage you do, the less damage he'll do with that wave. Crystal Sword Cecil is doing 4,000 damage a swing. The spot only has about 30-some-odd-thousand HP. You don't have to go through too many of these, but you have to be able to survive the early ones, and then they're heading for 900. This is definitely a more manageable number. This is looking better for Antidale. I think he's got this under control now.
Yep, this is basically a DPS check, if you will. You have to be able to do enough damage quickly enough that Kanazo won't just wipe you out.
Yeah. Unless you're doing those very specific timing, relative agility manipulation strats, you need to be able to go and just pour out damage. Which in the vanilla game, I never knew that Kanazo was supposed to be scary or difficult, because the Let 3 from Tella did a lot of work in that game.
It does, yeah.
And Smaepdii has gotten to the Threemus and is starting his fight against that Threemus, has Quake on his Quick Kid. Rydia also has summons, so we'll be able to do some amount of damage to this. Not the fight you want to go and use Berserkers on, just because, well, Threemus is going to punch 3 times and then turn into Mist. And when you punch the Mist, it does a nice long counterattack that hurts you a bit, and then your characters say, no, don't attack the Mist.
Yep, Threemus is the required Final Fantasy first boss. By the way, we have an ATB system. And Antidale has completed the Kanazo fight, completed 3 of the 4 objectives. That's a tower key. Who cares? That's a crystal. That's what we care about.
Yes, and in hour 3, we have one runner in go mode, and they have nothing left blocking their way to Threemus. I would be surprised to see Antidale go anywhere but to the moon to go and go straight to Threemus. I also imagine Antidale would... Again, no one checked the moon characters. I am very curious as to what Antidale's feelings would be if there's a second Cecil up there, because that would have gone and made things a lot easier for him. Also, shout out to Wexel for pointing out that Kanazo got a bit too nerfed from the Japanese version, where he has 5,300 HP instead of 4,000 in the US version. So, yeah, that definitely goes and makes scarier waves and makes them harder to one-shot. It definitely sounds like we got a pretty easy version here. And we see on the moon who is our character here. It's Rosa.
Yeah, we have plenty of those. I think we're fine.
I think this is the 4th Rosa we've seen, because we had 2 around the beginning of the game, 1 in the Benin Kaipo, and now 1 on the moon.
Yeah, Antidale, no need for another white mage. And with that Cecil kicking around, can't even have her do a spot of agility anchoring. So, meh.
I mean, if you get rid of this Tesla, you can go and have her anchor just fine, and she's a level 1 character. She's a great anchor.
I think Antidale is just gunning for the finish at this point.
He is enamored by the idea of taking a Crystal Sword Cecil to Threemus, and it's really hard to go and argue against that. So just for comparison, Kane's best weapon has an attack power of 106. Cecil's second best weapon has an attack power of 150. His best weapon has an attack power of 200, and it gives him plus 15 strength. I can't possibly imagine why Kane is ever jealous of Cecil.
Now, as Antidale is moseying on down, I'm seeing some flags in the chat. Baka, do you wish to address the matter? Address the letter?
I believe we can go into why people are going to be waving those little Z flags in chat. Well, because this is a randomizer, we like to go and randomize a lot of things. We randomize the palettes of our characters. We randomize the location of the bosses. We randomize the characters you get in your party. But we don't randomize where the final boss is. He's still always on the moon, sitting here, waiting for you to show up and kick his butt. But we can't just leave him entirely alone. So we go and give him a little bit of a makeover. We've got over 450 sprites, I believe, at this point. The vast majority done by our wonderful art director, Scalakitty. So if there's a character, you have a non-insubstantial chance of it being in our boss pool. So with our Z flags out in chat, let us find out whose butt we are going to kick tonight.
I was really worried Antidale was about to turn on encounters and delay this even further, but nope. Just finessing the battle speed, getting ready.
Going and adjusting, Rydia is giving up all of her equipment. And Rosa is, Rosa's getting some extra love. Can't possibly imagine why that's happening. Both Rosas are getting extra love. Yes, and Cecil's getting a power shirt. Can't imagine why you'd want to go and give Cecil a power shirt. It's like he doesn't hit hard enough already. So here is our final boss, the one who we consider too strong, too complicated, and too big to bring into our normal boss pool, and maybe a little too ugly to leave alone. Let's see what amazing makeover we have tonight. answer a question from chat, I believe what we're going to see from Antidale is the top Rosa is going to switch off from her Artie bow. Well, he might go in Berserker early on in the fight. I think he's getting around to Rydia to have her throw the crystal because Rydia is going to take the least impactful action of this fight, while Yang can go in power. He'll be delayed a little bit. He's not going to go and probably whiff on that Threemus.
Threemus thing is revenge.
For those of you who have not seen the 2019 GDQ feature, this is one of the sprites that was created for that feature in the bid war. This is Animals Miss, Revenge of the Animals from Super Metroid. Which I don't know why they're so upset about being left behind all the time. Is that you got to go fast in those runs, right?
The planet blew up.
I mean, that's clearly not our protagonist's fault. They clearly had nothing to do with that.
Look, the planet was there, Samus shows up, Samus leaves, planet blows up. I know correlation is not causation, but I'm blaming Samus.
I mean, look, I don't know if you've gone and tried to save the animals. Sometimes it's not the animals there. Sometimes it's something worse.
Look, she has to be a complex and flawed hero. That's how you have an interesting and dynamic character. So, Samus occasionally has to do something that's, not, it's debatable. Like
Is
not going fast.
No, I believe going fast is without debate. But something that is debatable, Smaepdii in his key item fight, the Threemus at Rubicant behind the hook from tower had the Legend Sword. Smaepdii does not need to go and do either the Giant of Babel or one of the Giant of Babel or the Kanazo fight. However, Antidale is in his Zeromus fight now, so unless Antidale takes a wipe, this is still going to be very, very harsh for Smaepdii to catch up on.
Yeah, this is very much Antidale's to lose, but Smaepdii took a fascinating route, and I wouldn't say it paid off necessarily, but definitely gave us a tour.
I'll say. And I respect going for a different route. It's something, just not liking either doing the Giant or the King and Summon monster bosses. I wonder if Smaepdii's going to look at this, because we know, yes, there's only one fight here compared to two fights in the Giant, but the one fight here is absolutely awful, and you never want to do it. And the two fights in the Giant are two different shades of free. We see top Rosa is just not even getting picked up, just left there taking a nap. Bottom Rosa with a white robe and the silent staff is going to go and carry the seed, it seems. Taking 1,600 damage, but getting through it.
Yeah, barring a very high roll on a Big Bang, Antidale's probably going to stand for the rest of this fight. But Big Bangs do like to roll high sometimes.
Yep. There's some of them that cap out at 2,400 damage, some of them cap out at 2,700 damage based on the spell power of Zeromus that shifts depending on certain phases and after so many Big Bangs go by. And that can go and really hurt, because you do see that Rosa only has 2,100 HP. Rosa, however, with a white robe, does have stronger magic evade, so that can go and even out a bit of the damage she's going to take. And Antidale does have two Rosas who he can go and get back up and throw another Berserk with. I think Antidale's going to be pretty resilient this fight. And we can tell that Threemus is in phase 2 as he is throwing nukes on his own, not as a counter, but because, well, that's just what Threemus does eventually in the fight. After you do 42,000 damage of him, Threemus decides to change the script and start throwing nukes. And when you get him down to 12,000 HP, he starts throwing rocks at your party because he thinks that's going to do a better job. So Antidale is very close to the end of this fight. And there is the crumble. Threemus is down. Antidale is our winner this seed with a time of 1 hour, 14 minutes even. GG's to Antidale. Let's see if we can get him in here for an interview.
GG's Antidale.
That is definitely a seed, and I believe we are joined by Antidale now. GG Antidales, what were your thoughts about the objectives for that seed when you started this seed? If you're talking, we're not quite hearing you at the moment.
It would help if I remember that I had push to talk on from the last time I did commentary.
Yeah, that's something I've done before.
But for the objectives, the fact that we could be in go mode at just 3 key items, with just a pan, a darkness crystal, and a way underground, it felt like it could be super jetty.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it was a super long seed, though. You did have to go through some a certain rude boss. What were your feelings on that Kanizo?
That I was a little bit silly for trying him quite so early. I wanted to try and see if I could get him done with just a couple sirens and then just go to the giant and then finish it off. But overall, he's not too bad there. Like, when you have a Crystal Sword Cecil, you don't worry too much about anything except, like, Wyvern in the late game.
That's very fair, though. That fight still did go and cause you some trouble even after getting through the giant. How did you feel when you reset and found that you were still at the giant?
A little bit dumb. I had realized that I just walked straight in even before. Like, I had bought the 2 strength rings and then walked right in. I'm like, I got this, no problem. And then I miscue that Berserk to Cecil and instead do a Cure 4, which kind of sunk me, and then I couldn't recover quite in time to get enough damage in to make the waves survivable. So that definitely had me really, really worried that Smaepdii was going to just come up and grab it from me if he wasn't ahead.
Yeah, Smaepdii actually went and did a bit more exploring for key items and found the Legend Sword, so he's going to go and be getting his crystal with 3 different objectives than you.
That's a really neat thing about the flag set of each runner can choose their own path and kind of luck into a specific way of getting there that's a little bit faster than the other one.
Yeah, that's how did you feel about just the flags in general? What have your experiences been so far?
I really like them a lot. It's nice to be able to kind of run through the early game, possibly with some nice edges. Getting some really good gear is also a lot of fun, but also it's a really fast flag set sometimes, and it is pretty ripe for some upsets. I'm surprised we haven't seen quite as many as I thought so far, just because of how variable it can be. I've been playing in a lot of asyncs and other races, and just watching people like really fluctuate up and down some of the rankings in each seed, just based on, I decided to fade this, but it happened to be the right call or the faster call, has been really fun to play in.
Yeah, I mean, your game time was under an hour. That's pretty jetty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were you worried at all about having 2 Rydias to start off with?
For sure. I normally don't do Mysidia right away, but with 2 Rydias, I wanted more chances of getting a character that would actually carry me early. And then getting Kane was nice. And eventually it was Rosa at some point too, and Yang to round out the first part of the party. That definitely made me feel okay, but then there wasn't really a whole lot of gear that was super great. That was a really lucky Ice Brand buy for Fabul defense.
Yeah, early on, your party didn't seem to be very impressive on the damage front, and you even ended up looting Fabul, or excuse me, Evelyn Castle. What was your thinking going into that looting session?
It was absolutely, I don't have anything to carry me through quickly through the next couple pieces. So let's loot and hopefully find a good weapon for Kane or something really good for Rosa. But we come with a Leviathan summon, which, since I still had 2 Rydias, was perfect. And then as soon as we get the Protect Ring, I'm like, I don't want to reset anymore. We're done. We're just going to walk out of here with the 2 treasures that get me through Dwarf Castle and probably Upper Babel, or the top of Lower Babel, in case something like stuff goes haywire. Like 2 Rydias with Leviathan summon can carry a lot.
That is definitely very fair. That is something that does seem to be helping Rydia a bit on these flag sets. Getting some of her summons in more locations is something that helps her stand up a bit more.
Yeah,
do you
absolutely.
have any final thoughts on the seed or the tournament in general so far? I know I believe this is your first match.
First match, just been watching a lot. It's been a lot of fun so far. The seed was really fun. It was a little bit nerve-wracking there with a couple of mistakes that I made, but overall, there was enough there to do and some really interesting choices to make in some places. I rotated so fast through characters. Like, I was like, I gotta go reflex strats, and then you get a crystal sword from the pan. You're like, heck no, I'm not gonna do reflex strats. That's
Yeah, I did see that you saw that Cecil and left them there. How that is definitely something I believe is going to affect a lot of things. What are your thoughts on Cecil and these flags?
if I can leave him in a spot to think about later, I absolutely will. When we're here on seed buy and free characters, you get enough choices that you can probably leave a Cecil until you just find a second one, or find Excal or Crystal Sword, or possibly a Drain Spear and a Crystal and a Cursed Ring, because those are sufficient to keep him at low agility, so you don't have to worry about it. And then you can eventually just pick up whatever, and he can be a good cover tank for a bit. So I like to kind of hold on him if I can keep one in a back pocket somewhere to pick up later, like that Watery Pass. It's a little unfortunate to get the Artemis Bow earlier, but I am happier with having Crystal Sword Cecil when I did, and not having to think about, do I want to ditch him?
Sounds like a very, very well thought out idea. Well, Hupfen, do you have any final questions?
No, nothing else to add.
Well then, Angel, congratulations on your first win, and we'll be looking forward to your future matches.
Thanks, Baka. Thanks, Hupfen, for the commentary, and thanks, Natara, for the restream, and Gundam for the tracking. Hope you all have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
And with that, Smaepdii has cleared out the Mylon fight. Had a bit more of a struggle with it, lacking anyone who could swing that 8x Crystal Sword around.
Yeah, it turns out when you can go and just instantly do 9,999 damage, Mylon Z is really easy, and when you can't do that, he's a lot less easy when he's in one of those spots that has obscene attack power, because the CPU never physically attacks.
Yep.
But Smaepdii is through. He will have the opportunity to go and pick Edward in the event he really wants to go and do Edward strats and show those off. I don't think Smaepdii wants to do that. But there is this crystal. And yeah, we'll see how Smaepdii approaches this. He does go and have a party that is pretty well set up for Reflect Strat. He is getting rid of Rydia. I'm going to guess he's going to keep that Edward around as an anchor, because you have to go and do less grinding with... Again, it takes 1 million to get Rydia up to nuke. It takes 900,000 to get Palom up to nuke. That is the difference of 3 eggs, or 3 sirens, or 12,000 gold. That could matter.
Yeah, that, especially if you're running a flag set that really restricts your resources, which this doesn't restrict that tightly, but, you know, treasure is a bit sparse. So, any kind of restriction, any kind of constraint, you're thinking about that and how you plan out which characters you keep and all of that.
Yes, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And we see that he's got 22 sirens in his inventory. He is going to be able to go and take out a lot of eggs, I think. And I see that Antidale, after doing the interview, is resetting, and I believe this will go and be Antidale showing off the another feature of the most current patch to Free Enterprise, where after you've gone and defeated Threemus and watched through some of the credits, a flag gets shifted in the SRAM, which allows you to go and get the Twin Heart music. Smaepdii did go and provide it to us earlier, but we will get an encore for it.
Yep, so we'll get to watch Smaepdii scramble some eggs to the lovely tunes that
the Sanctuary theme from A Link to the Past.
I was blanking on what part of Link to the Past it was.
I haven't heard that much Link to the Past music from here recently, so that's out. And yes, if you go to Bedward and talk to his harp, this will go and start playing the music after you've defeated Threemus, I believe, or just simply won the game and sat through some of the credits. But yeah, this has been... Antidale had a rather hard path to go and deal with that Kanazo, as he tried it early, didn't work, he tried it late, and still had an issue with it, because if you make a mistake on the Kanazo fight, it's very easy for it to just get cascade into chaining failures of wave, into fast, into another wave, hitting your team, and Berserk is a good spell, not just because it increases the damage of your Berserker, not just because it makes them, always attack whenever the turn comes up, but because it means you never have to go and deal with manually entering their attack command, or any commands for them whatsoever. You get to your other characters faster, and then you can go and get their spells in faster, which is very important for when you say, you need to keep healing with your Rosas, and you want to go be reducing the damage coming in from that wave.
So, Baka, I know you mentioned you've been practicing. Is you're a competitor in this tournament as well? Have you had to deal with such a rude fight down in the Town of Monsters?
I haven't had to deal with... I've mostly dealt with rude things like seeing Altgauntlet and Antline and saying, no, I don't want to do that. That takes too long. Let's not do this. And then coming back after clearing all the other spots because, fine, I'll do Gauntlet and Antline because it's still faster than clearing the Sealed Cave, walking through Sealed Cave and clearing that. That was not a feel-good moment.
Good old routing.
Clearly, fading Antline will never hurt. When could fading an early spot check go and blow up in your face? That just doesn't seem possible.
Never happens.
And this is why I'm terrified of my match on Saturday. Also, it's against the person who was the champion of the second highway to the Threemus Zone, so that is a great way to kick off your season.
All this stuff is why I'm just not a competitor. These are all very, very skilled players, very knowledgeable, and Smaepdii is probably going to have no problem with this Threemus fight after a few more eggs. Yeah. Like we said at the beginning, these are runners that you've probably seen in the community races quite a few times, probably heard them on commentary quite a few times, and they are quite skilled.
There are a lot of good runners in the Free Enterprise community. We had a scary group last year, and we have an even scarier group this year. We just keep getting more and more scary players for some reason. It is it is an impressive community. It is something that I'm happy to be a part of. I am happy to go and get trounced by some of these people as well, because I may be doing some level of expectation alignment when it comes to this Saturday. And we'll certainly not just roll over and give up, but I'm aware of how much I've been practicing and how much I should have been practicing, looking at my opponents. Again, with these flags, there are a lot of interesting things that are going to be coming up, because you're going to be thrown into a lot of uncomfortable positions of, like, antidale. I want to go and get this Kanizo out of the way before I go to the Giant, so I can go and more quickly and efficiently finish Giant, come back to Earth, and go straight up to the moon and walk to Threemus. Except for the fact that, you have a Cecil in your party because you have a Crystal Sword, but that goes and interrupts your ability to go and anchor well in a Kanizo fight, so you have to go and be taking hits, but you can't go and leave Cecil to... If you try and go and just block with Cecil, he's going to take hits and is going to need healing, and you can't berserk him, so you're going to go and have limited damage output, so that doesn't go and work. And it's very easy to trap yourself into thinking, I should do these things because I'm here and I can take care of it efficiently, and not consider how long those fights are going to take, where you need to do other things. Like when you're doing the Giant of Babel, you're going to go and be getting a lot of experience, so you want to grind before those hard fights, and you'll be very powerful afterwards. So you'll be walking through a place twice, but you'll be doing the fights much faster and with a higher success rate, so maybe that ends up being better. But then you have the pressure of, what's my opponent doing? Can my opponent go and get through these fights? These are, fast seeds are scary. These flag sets go and produce a lot of fast seeds, and that produces a lot of scary seeds, and they're only going to go and get tougher as the tournament goes on, because as I alluded to, the table round goes and escalates the flags noticeably. You're going from T Wildish to T Pro, you're going from S Standard to S Pro, you're going from having the ability to kick characters out of your party to not being able to go and remove them from your party. You'll have rescue on, so you can see characters and send them to Mysidia, but then you have another balance issue of how much time do I spend sending people to Mysidia and making my perfect party? How long do I go around without making a good party? These are all going to be things to see later on in this tournament, and we're just getting started. This is the third day, of these matches. We started right at midnight on Monday.
And for all the strategy, all the decision making, obviously Baka's head is just running on all the stuff that he has to worry about with his match, and that all of our runners have to worry about. You see, like, the grind that we had here with the sirens and the eggs, that's pretty standard. That's pretty normal. We haven't even gotten to the strange kinds of configurations that runners might find themselves forced into in order to clear these seeds efficiently. So there's not just all the metagame, all of the knowledge and that. It's what edge cases, either with edge or without edge, can you play into to get that advantage?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different things. I believe we'll see some more Mac Giant grinds. Probably not on these flag sets, but on the next flag set, where you're going to go and be... Sirens will just not be available, because we also turn off the ability to steal sirens, because we really want to make sure that you're working for your grind next flag set.
Imagine seeing Lamia grinds. That's a thing. You can find yourself in that situation where you're on ordeals. Like, I need levels now, right here.
Oh yeah, we're going to have a lot of exciting matches. There's going to be a lot of exciting things to see. So if you're enjoying this, keep an eye out on RPG Limit Break. You will see more Highway to the Threemus Zone. Or also, if you want to see a lot more Free Enterprise, there is a Free Enterprise Twitch channel, which will go and have other matches from our tournament. And you can come to the Discord and see, hang out. We do go in to try to announce matches that are occurring. We are not able to restream all the matches because we have a lot of matches. We have 117 players entered into this tournament.
Yeah, this is a massive event. We'll be at this for a while, but I suspect Smaepdii will not be at this Threemus fight for very long, having gotten a good chunk of levels, good spells for his party, and a good bard to anchor things down.
Edward is going to go and sing the song of his people, and that song is Blark. And here come the animals again to go and sing the song of their people, which is pain. Lots and lots of pain. The pain of betrayal. The pain of being on an exploding planet. The pain of never getting saved except at GDQ, where people will go and pay large sums of money to see these animals be saved. True, it is sometimes. It depends on... They pay... They also pay to break the run of spirit sometimes, I think, where they really want to go and avoid the animals, and they just can't go and do it. They've been traumatized by these animals. Can't possibly imagine why, but apparently they have been. But Smaepdii is just dishing out the damage with that Quad 9 nuke from Palom.
Mm-hmm. That is Palom power. That getting Palom up to nuke levels, taking him to Threemus, reflecting a nuke, you almost always end up seeing those Quad 9s. That is always a powerful position to be in.
Oh yeah, that's you never feel bad taking Palom to Threemus with nuke because you just get to see so much damage. That kid is he's a little busted, not gonna lie. He's really strong. He ends up going and having just base more wisdom than Rydia, which Rydia also gets her levels slower, which is poor for her. And this is the reason why everyone goes and says that Palom's better than Rydia. It's really hard to disagree when not only does a kid learn Quake at level 23, get more HP than Rydia, and learn Nuke 100,000 experience faster, he also has better stats in a lot of times.
And I always found it surprising that he has a higher base wisdom, because according to the storyline, he's a bit of a twerp.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's... In the story, you think this kid is unwritten arrogant. In gameplay, you think this kid is definitely as arrogant as he deserves to be, because let's be honest, he's carrying this team.
Yeah, I guess, it's the wisdom of knowing your skill. So, fair on you, little guy.
Yeah, some say it's arrogance to go and say I'm good. It's really hard to call it arrogance, but no, he really actually is that good. It's kind of hard to go and say, I shouldn't go and talk up myself. I learned Quake at level 23, which is about 20 levels faster than I'm supposed to.
Yeah, all these reflected nukes just chipping away at Threemus pretty rapidly. It's another 9,000 for no problem. Bounce a white, why not?
I think Threemus was thinking about going and throwing out a big bang, and took so much damage he reconsidered the idea because he didn't know which side the damage was supposed to be going on. Because all the damage is just going straight to Threemus right now.
Yeah, it's probably looked like, wait a second, everything's bouncing and hitting me. I don't want to do a thing that hits me.
Is this spell reflectable? Hold on, let me go and check to see if the spell is reflectable. And, okay, no, the spell is not reflectable, it appears to reflect. Great, I can go and use this now, and I have lost another 30,000 HP. Just you wait, I'm going to throw my own nukes, and they're going to be great. maybe.
Unless they go for Pelham.
Yeah, that's why he goes and throws the black hole first. So he definitely doesn't go and reflect that. He's learned his lesson. He knows. Get rid of the big bang. Oh dear, he got rid of a lot of things. And
Oh yeah.
Smaepdii has finished. Okay, so
we take those.
Fun fact: you can still beat Zeromus, have the crumble go, and then have to reset and redo this if your last character standing dies to HP leak, which Kane might do because there's so there's only gonna be one tick, not two. He's gonna take two. He's gonna go down to 2 HP, but we still have Yang. So Smaepdii has safely finished with an official time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 15 seconds. GG Smaepdii. Let's see if we can get him here for an interview. And I believe we are joined by Smaepdii now. GG Smaepdii.
Thank you.
How did you feel when you saw the objectives that for your siege? What were your first thoughts of them?
My first thought was, boy, I really don't want to do the giant. And then my second thought was, boy, I really don't want to fight the Feymarch King. And then I did a little quick math on my hand and realized I needed to do one of them, and I got sad.
Fair. That's a fair reaction.
Those can be some pretty rude fights. When you actually got to those fights, which one did you feel better about going through?
Well, I didn't even the first time I went to the Feymarch, I didn't even check to see who was there because I've been baited into trying to do some Feymarch fights early and paid the price for it. So I didn't even look and said I'm going to come back later and grab some sirens, maybe use them and then come back. And then when it came down to, well, I've only got one objective left, I was like, okay, I'm going to lean towards the Feymarch King. And then I found out it was Kainazo. And I'm like, yeah, no, let's check the giant. And then blue robe at the giant. So, woo.
Yeah, blue robe, and I believe you already saw the other blue robe, so that was...
Yeah, so check your objectives, kids.
So you had planned to hunt down that legend sword and that adamant from the very beginning. So how did you feel finally finding it at the D-Mist?
That was kind of a Hail Mary play. Antidale is like one of the best runners of this game in this tournament. So I knew if I was going to have a chance, I needed to do something bold. So when I did Keyless Tower and got the hook and I saw that D-Mist was on the hook route, I was like, I think this is a sign. So I chased it, and when it ended up being the sword, I dared to dream for a second that I might be in the lead. Then a few minutes later, the dot done came through, and I figured he must have made the same play.
No, Antidale did go and clear out that Feymarch, but he took a few shots at Feymarch, left, did giant, and discovered the Water Hag and then the Mylan Z. And the Mylan Z was a lot more free for him because he didn't pick up Cecil until he found the Crystal Sword.
Okay, yeah, that was another thing, was after I'd already kicked Cecil to the curb, and then I came across the Crystal Sword, I was like, well, that's there's a big opportunity squandered there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Antidale was doing 9,999 damage to that Mylan Z with just Cecil looking at it and laughing jollily.
Yeah, that would have been a big discrepancy right there.
Yeah. But it is worth mentioning, up until you got to the Bearing, or the Dwarf Castle rather, it was looking like you might have had the advantage in terms of what you were getting done and what kind of equipment and stuff you were holding on to. So
yeah,
you were holding a good spot for a while.
Yeah, the Waterfall Cave was very, very nice early with the Artemis Bow and the Stardust Rod. Once I got I felt pretty confident, especially since I had characters that could use them right off the bat, to just sort of power through whatever I needed there. And then getting the legendary single dip into Fabul was great, even though it didn't turn up with anything, but still it felt good.
And that was something that worked out really well for you, because by taking that Cecil, you did get access to the Artemis Bow and this Stardust Rod very early, which Antidale didn't. Antidale did not have that until he came back and picked up Cecil later, which you got a lot of mileage out of that Stardust Rod, if nothing else. You used that to take care of a lot of the overworlds.
Yeah, and even with the gauntlet being at the Dwarf Castle spot, it was just enough damage to kind of multi-shot everything in there. So that could have been a lot more painful if I didn't have it. So I was really happy to grab that.
Yeah, like we said, you and Antidale were very neck and neck, going through a lot of places, getting to go mode, getting to the Darkness Crystal at about the same time, and then just dealing with the awful question of which objectives do I do? But do you have any other big outstanding thoughts on the seed for how flags in general, the start of the tournament? Anything thoughts like that?
Nothing specific. Just gonna have to readjust going forward. I mean, the nice thing about the way this tournament is set up is one loss is by no means the end of the world. The Golem group is incredibly competitive. I've got two more matches here against two really fantastic racers. I really can't wait for it. I hope Antidale goes far. He's a fantastic runner, absolutely deserves it. But nothing to it to just readjust, rethink the way I approach some things, and get right back in it with the next race.
Sounds good. I definitely wish you the best of luck with your next races.
Thanks so much, guys, and thanks to everybody behind the scenes for putting it on tonight. Natara on Restreamed and Gundam Pilot Spaz doing the tracking. Really appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you and Antidale for allowing us to restream our race. It's definitely something that wouldn't go and have a show without you.
Anytime. Have a great night, folks.
Thank you. You too.
And yep, that takes care of that race, but there is plenty more going on. As Baka mentioned, we have lots of races all throughout the next couple months, really. And one of those is going on over at the Free Enterprise channel right now with Gaming with a Wraith taking on Pixel Tamer. So I believe we're going to toss it over there.
Which sounds great, because if you enjoyed this Free Enterprise, well, have some more. It's more Threemus Zone, it's more matches, and it's more fun for all of us.
Yep, so with that, Baka, any last words, any last thoughts before we head on out?
This is a great race. These flags are exciting because our runners are going to be scared by how quickly things are going to come together and fall apart.
Oh, we always love some terror here in Randomizer Land.
Indeed. And again, let us give our thanks to Natara for restreaming and Gundam Pilot Spaz for tracking. And thank you, Hupfen, for doing commentary with me tonight.
Always a pleasure, Baka.
You can't prove anything. Thanks, everybody. We're going over to Free Enterprise. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.